friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and as you saw in the thumbnail, today we're taking a look at the QSP Unicorn. But before we get to that, hey, check this out. The weather outside, a little bit of a video of Bandit. It's a little bit cold out here. It's not terribly cold right now. A little bit below freezing, several degrees, not bad. And one other thing, if you didn't see my only live video I've ever done, I did one last week about this slip joint knife from Sanramu Knives. Well under $20 US for this knife. And you might want to check that out. Great gift for somebody, get them introduced into knives. This thing's a slip joint and it's pretty nice. It's a good introductory knife to somebody. If you haven't seen that, if you go to my channel's page, youtube.com/@CanadianCuttingEdge, you see videos, you see stuff, but go to the live button that's on the top there. Click on the live button, then you'll see it there. Should I do more live videos? Some people who noticed that I went live really like that. I checked out the YouTube analytics and found out when I get most of my views, and it said the best time for me to do a live video, most people are on, would be Sunday morning. Yeah, that's not good for me. My weekends, I try to save for, time with my family, time with my wife, time with my family. Sometimes I upload, but, I've done the editing and stuff beforehand, so it's not really, work at all. So probably not then. The next best time it says would be Monday at 9 or 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So that would be like 8 or 9 Pacific Time and 10 or 11, 12-ish Eastern Time. And of course, if you live somewhere else in the world, you're going to have to do your own math on what time zone that is in. So I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I don't know. We'll see. Let me know down in the comments below if you'd like to see live content from me. But for now, we're looking at the Unicorn. This is a knife that came out this year from QSP Knives. They're very commonly used 14C28N steel, and we've got G10 or micarta handle scales and a button lock flipper, or you can use that hole. But you're seeing this from quite a ways away, so let's go to the tabletop and we'll take a good. See, I'm mumbling my words. I haven't been in a great headspace the last several days and stuff. I'm trying to take care of myself though, so I'm thinking much faster than my mouth can work. I'll try to slow down, and we'll go to the tabletop and we'll take a good close look at this knife together. Stick around. There's the knife. I did an unboxing video, but I'll show you guys again. Here's your typical QSP box, the QS156. They got A1, B1, C1, and then A2, B2, C2. Basically, the knife comes in 6 different ways, 3 times 2. We've got this black with purple, and you can either get stonewash or blackwash, and then you can get the black G10 with stonewash or blackwash, or you can get a brown micarta, dark brown micarta, stonewash or blackwash. Yes, some websites say satin. No, it's not available in satin. Of course, you get your card with it. You always get some stickers. Have a nice day. I like this one better. Better knife, better life, which QSP does. Comes in a bag, and you get a nice form-fitting box. Really, really good for secure shipping without any risk of damaging your knife. And so QSP does a good job doing their packaging. Let's take a closer look at this thing. We've got a fairly straight back on this. It's got a little bit of arch to it, then a big curve in here, so it gets a little bit larger at the end of the handle. We've got the 3 speed holes on either side. Adds about 30 horsepower to this thing, so hey, you got to do that. And then a little milled line. Yeah, I've got it a little dirty in there because, I'm grinding out that dirt. I carry these things. I use them and I test them, and I'll tell you about my experience with it. We've got pocket clip, right and left pocket clip holes, nicely done. And the pocket clip sits right on that little bit of material that's between there, so between these 2 holes. And it works quite well. It's a functional pocket clip, nice stiff pocket clip. We've got T6 button screws, which I don't like T6 button screws. I hope QSP will soon get it and stop doing that. Just stop doing T6 button screws. QSP is one of my favorite brands. I really, really like their products an awful lot. And especially in the price range that this is. This one's a little bit higher than some knives that I review. It's not bad, but T6 screws, now QSP screws tend to be higher quality, but still T6 screws strip out a lot easier, a lot more easily to ruin, the head of a T6 screw than a T8. It's just the way it is. They're just that much smaller, and so you have to be that much more precise if you don't want to do it. And then button screws, recessed, I like the flush top screws that are just at the level of the handle scales much better. Nice thing that they added the pocket clip spacer on the off side, so if you want to be left-handed pocket clip, you take this piece of steel and it'll fit in the other side, so that's quite good. Let's demonstrate the pocket clip right now while we're at it. I don't follow one particular order for doing all my reviews. I just sort of talk about all the stuff I want to talk about. It climbs over, has a nice hold, that wide pocket clip. So this is a pocket clip just for this knife, and it works really, really well. So happy with the pocket clip 100%. And it's a deep carry clip. It comes a little bit out the end, at least according to this, because it comes off a little bit of an angle. So it's about the same height as it is back here, going up if you put this straight down into a pocket. So that's good. I like the pocket clip. Works well. We got recessed liners, and those also have weight reduction, but only those 3 holes. This isn't a heavy knife, but it's not a light knife either for its size. But that's the general handle. The handle's fairly comfortable in hand. We've got radiused G10 all the way around. So there's no hot spots in the hand when you're grabbing it and holding it. Pocket clip is not annoying and feels quite nice in the hand. Quite like that a lot. And we've got a lot of security in the hand here, some protection against, if you plunge this into something, it's not a stabbing blade. So you shouldn't be plunging it into stuff anyways, but you got some protection there. And then just the handle shape, quite comfortable, quite comfortable. Button lock. Yeah, we've got a button lock on this QSP, and the button's got one little line milled in it. It doesn't sit too terribly proud. It sits a little bit proud of the G10 right here. So it's easy to feel it with your thumb. Press in that button lock, and as long as the blade is a little bit in that orientation to make it want to close, it's going to close. We've got nice ceramic ball bearings in here, and that works quite well. When your knife is being used, I did not have a problem with accidentally pressing the blade, the lock release while I was using it. I mostly hold it in the hammer grip. Sometimes I pinch up here, but even then, see the button's just not being used. And if you did want to use this for like some tasks similar to like skinning something, this nice big belly works well, and it's decent to grip it. So I didn't find that button lock to be a problem. As you can see, it's purple here, so that is recessed, so it's easy to get it all the way in so that it disengages the lock, and good to use. Now, how do you deploy this blade? We got a flipper and we got a hole. Now, I've got the exact same complaint about both of these systems, and that is it's too rounded. It's too, I'll use the word soft. It's stainless steel. It's not soft in that sense, but it's soft in the sense of not being grippy. We've got 2 lines milled in there for jimping, but everything's rounded and a little bit soft. I found myself slipping off of the lock release every once in a while, and the detent on this is pretty stiff, pretty strong, but if you do get a decent grip on it, it's not difficult. You don't have to focus extra hard, but you have to focus a little bit more than I would prefer to. So I would like this to not be as rounded off on the edges and everything, and maybe having, deeper, more crisp, maybe 3 of them milled jimping lines in there, just to make it more 100% sure that you're going to get that thing. Same problem on this hole. Now, this hole is not that easy to get your finger into. I'll give you some close-ups of getting the finger there. I can't get my nail behind it, at least not comfortably and not reliably. So I'm relying on the soft round part of my finger to get in there and grip it to deploy this blade. Oh, my furnace just went off. It'll go back on real soon. Sorry about that added background noise, but it's just the nature of the beast. So once you're used to it and you get your hand in just the right position, it's not hard at all to deploy the blade. But again, I wish it wasn't rounded and soften that edge quite as much as it is. I wouldn't want it like a 90-degree edge there. Like that's a big no-no, because that'll just be biting into the finger and be annoying. But because this hole is so close to the handle, there's not much space there. It needs just a little bit less rounding on that, in my personal opinion. So there you go. So the deployment on this thing is the thing. But if you just want to use the button lock and then swing the blade open, you can do that. And then you don't have either of those issues. So you got those 3 deployment methods: flipper, hole, or the wrist flick with using the button. So there you go. If you just do a wrist flick, it's not coming out all that easily. The button. We do have a little bit of lock stick in this thing. And it was more pronounced when it was brand new. And the first day I started carrying it, I was feeling lock stick whenever I wanted to press that lock button, especially after the knife is deployed and you go to release it. It would have lock stick to release that lock. And that's improved a lot already. So it just needs a little bit of wear and time. A lot of button locks are that way. So there you go. So is this a good cutting knife? Well, it's thin at the edge, not super thin, and I'll go through the exact measurements later on. But this blade shape is quite good for cutting and slicing. It's not good for piercing. Let's take the back of this ruler against there. See, it's a straight back. It's not a drop point or anything. So we got a straight back knife. There's a little bit of a swedge here. That's basically for design elements, decorative effect. It's not really helpful because, like I said, you're not going to want to piercing with this knife anyways. And if you look at the blade in this orientation, it is narrower here right at the spine than it is up here. So that swedge sort of ends, and we have almost the full thickness of that we have on the spine right near the tip. And you can see how that bevel is coming up. So it's got a strong tip. I don't think pry bars and knife blades are the same thing, so I don't use a knife to pry with, but this is a strong tip. You could pry some minor things with it and be pretty good. 14C20N is fairly tough. So yeah, sharpness from the factory, quite good. But again, just like a lot of knives that I reviewed, this last little bit at the end here, not so good. It's like they've got a very specific angle that they're sharpening at, but when they get close to the end of the blade, they sort of do that, and then it's got a really broad edge. The apex is not a nice and sharp edge. It's a pretty broad edge, but that's just at the last little bit of the blade. Same thing I saw on another recent knife. This plunge here, you can see it's radiused. It comes down slowly like a curve down to the main bevel. That transition zone is too wide this way, in my opinion, for the size of this sharpener's choil. That's why you see that the steel, if you're looking just at the blade edge here, it almost looks like it's a tiny bit of a recurve right here. The steel comes back, and that's because it's getting thicker. So the steel's thicker right where my fingernail is now than where my fingernail is now. And that's just a tiny little movement. And that's because that plunge, that transition from the full thickness of the steel to the main thinness of the bevel at the edge is still happening along that. It looks like it ends, it looks like it ends right there, but it doesn't. It ends further over here. And it just takes that time to mellow that last bit out. So that's why you've got some of that. So this sharpener's choil needs to be a little bit bigger, go in a little bit further, or come forward a little bit. Or this transition here needs to be more of a step and less of a rounded plunge. Does this have an effect on the usefulness of the knife for cutting and stuff? No, it's all about how nice this area looks. So it's just a cosmetic thing that I'm talking about here. So if that's not an issue for you, you don't care, no big deal. How about the badging on this thing? Not bad. This side of the knife, you just see a nice clean stonewash finish. Beautiful. And then they put it on the pivot pin, QSP, with their flame logo. I like that. I like that a lot. That's really nicely done. I like the blades to be quite clean. On this side, you just have a small little 14C28N right up there. Let's go over some of the specs of this thing. The price of this knife, that's a spec, 69 US dollars for this knife at most stores that sell QSP knives. I got mine at White Mountain Knives, and you can save 10% there with the coupon code CCE for this channel, the Canadian Cutting Edge. $69, 10% off is $62.10 American. Now you can buy this directly in Canada. The best store I found for that was Blades Canada. They've got it. They've got three or four different prices for the 6 different color variations, all the way down from $84.99 to this colorway with the purple is $92.99. With the current exchange rate, you're not losing any money, Canadians. Buy it there. It's the same price as it would be in the United States. Actually, a little bit less. Like especially that $84.99. That's a savings. That's even less money than the discount at White Mountain Knives when you factor in the exchange rate. And you know it's going to ship from Canada. So yeah, price is good. The weight of this knife, 108 grams. That's 3.81 ounces. The sharpness from the factory, 150 best. So that's right around average for pocket knives that I review. Knives in this sort of size, this price range and stuff. So on my tester, 150 is decent. Some measurements. A straight line from my thumbnail there to my thumbnail here, that is 82.4 millimeters, 3.24 inches. Just a hair more to do your blade length. So tip of the blade to the closest spot on the G10 handle scales is 82.5 millimeters. That's 3.25 inches. So 3¼ inch blade. The thickness of this blade stock, 2.93 millimeters, 0.115 of an inch. So yeah, just a little under 1/8 of an inch. Let's say it that way. 2.93 millimeters. The blade depth this way is right around 27.1 millimeters, 1.07 inches, so 1 inch basically. The thickness behind the grind, so the main bevel that's got the stone wash, where that ends and it becomes the sharpening edge, that thickness there is 0.54 millimeters, 21/1000 of an inch. So it varies a little bit thicker at the tip, but pretty much 21/1000, which is quite good. Now, QSP tends to run this thickness or a tiny bit thicker sometimes, but that makes that edge that much tougher as well. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Just know that QSP knives tend to run at 20 thou or a tiny bit thicker. The handle length, straight across like this, 108.5 millimeters, 4.27 inches, so pretty big. The grip area between my thumbs, a little over 90 millimeters, a little over 9 centimeters, a little over 3.5 inches. So most hands are going to find this to be fairly comfortable. My hands are extra large in terms of the width right across my knuckles here. And, I just get my grip on there. So it does work for me. And if I use just my fingers up there, then there's a little bit more room. But, if I did a reverse grip, not that this knife is designed for it, I still get a full grip on there. So if you've got male large hands or smaller, this will definitely fit. And I think a lot of guys with extra large hands are still going to find this comfortable like I do. I got that extra large width there, just barely though. What else? The thickness of the handle scales on the G10, that is 11.95 millimeters, which is 0.47, so just under half an inch thick there. And the handle depth, this way within the main grip area, the widest point is here. Well, that is a little wider up here, but how do you measure exactly where you're gripping there? That spot is 26.5 millimeters. That's 1.04 inches. And when you're closed, the widest point is here at the flipper, 36.3 millimeters, 1.43 inches. And the total length is right at 191 millimeters, 3.52 inches. Okay, you twisted my arm. Let's do a little bit of a teardown. You keep asking for that, so let's do a teardown. So that's a T6 screw. And oh, one other thing I noticed that I didn't tell you about. There's a little bit of Loctite on that screw. And the other thing that I wanted to tell you about is QSP does not use thread locker on their pivot screws. At least if they do, it's very rare. Now, where's my other screwdriver? This is my finger bit from Skiff Knives. You can see my video about these if you want, and you can get a discount if you use my link. Just check out that video. Really like these. T8, and let's get started. So like I was saying, this thing does not have a thread locker in the screw. By the way, the blade alignment was very good, and that's coming out. See, there you go. There's no thread locker on that screw anywhere. And so what I like, if I got a knife like this one that tends to walk a little bit loose, I like to use VC3 thread mate. So I'll show you a picture of it. It's really good stuff. You can see my video about that too. Also, QSP tends to use a heavier grease. And there you go. There's their heavy grease. And there's a D-shaped pivot pin right there. And that's not going to spin. So this side with the logo on it doesn't spin. So that's nicely done. There's the lock, and that's how the lock works. You push the button in and it releases from this lock because we got a spring pushing that over, and then you press it and it gets out of the way and can come out. So that pressure on that spring is also what is the functional detent on it. So you got to overcome the pressure of that spring going in there in order to get the blade to start to deploy, and comes out and it opens up, and then it locks up right over there, and that little spot right there holds it on. Yeah, it's a decent design. Stop pins right there. There's the spring, and let's take a look at these ball bearings. There's what, 4, 8, 9, 10 ball bearings. Quite good. As I'm finishing up, yeah, blade alignment, I forgot to mention that it's slightly off to the, at least the right side pocket clip side. Not much. It's pretty well centered. Lock up solid. No blade play side to side, up and down. You know, I didn't talk about that before. It's a decent knife. What do you think? Do you have one of these? Have you plans to get one of these? You know, it's not an inexpensive knife, but it's certainly not, you know, a pricey knife. Like I said, $62.10 American. You know, under $100 Canadian. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And I think I like it. Now, do I like the purple? Well, the purple was the only color available when I ordered it. You can get, I think, all the colors now. I think I'd rather have the micarta, but I don't mind the purple. The green, that neon green, the zombie green kind of green, a little bit too showy for me. I'm a little disappointed in the color choices from QSP Knives on this one. You know, you got two that are, you know, very showy like this. The purple's not so much, but the green. And then you've got the really sort of plain dark brown micarta. A nice denim micarta, I think I'd really like on this. I think it'd be a nicer knife, in my opinion. But again, that's an aesthetic thing. And I could dye this so that that purple went black, so it would be like an all black. But then with the black wash, I think I'd probably like that better. Like this with the stone wash, you know, I really don't mind the purple all that much. It's a nice looking knife. And of course, my granddaughter, her favorite critter is the imaginary unicorn. So I gotta like it for that reason. I'm curious, how many of you guys are grandparents? Statistically, you'd be grandfathers. I have very few female viewers of this thing, and I checked it out. Half of my viewers are between 25 and 55. So you're younger than I am. Well, I'm technically 55 right now, but most guys that watch this channel are younger than I am. But there you go. That's the cool knife. Do you like it? Do you have one? You gonna get one? Let me know in the comments below. Comments really do help. And if you share, that really helps the channel as well. If you share the video with somebody, get that share link moving, because YouTube really highly prizes that as engagement. So yeah, I'm gonna need to get a toothbrush and clean out this gunk that got in there. So if that's a big deal for you, you know, this trimmed out line will hold a little bit of gunk and stuff. Not a big deal in my books. You just clean your knife every once in a while, or I clean my knife every once in a while. And that action, those ball bearings just want this thing to fall. You know, if you stop, then you got the pressure of the lock pushed against the tang of the blade, and it can stop. So you got to hold it until it's closed and then let go. See, there you go. That was not an intentional slip, and I wasn't looking at my camera that time. Hopefully they'll add a little bit more grip on future runs of these. But now I'm starting to ramble, so time for me to sign off. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all you do for the channel, and let me know again if what you think about live views, live streaming. And don't forget, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.